Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Reborn Dolls with Karen. We're back with Jaxson. He looks like this now. He's looking really good. His skin tone is very good. And we're ready to put some blush on him. And I've decided that several of my dolls that I have up there on the shelf are just a little too dark. And so I am going to lighten up my blush a little bit. I mean, they're not too dark. They can be that dark. It's just I don't want all my dolls that dark. So we're going to add a little more paint thinner to this mixture to sort of dilute it a little bit more and make it a lighter color. Either that or the only other thing I can do is just put one coat on. And I'd rather have two thinner coats than one thicker coat. So we're just going to add a little bit more to it. About like that. That's enough, I'm sure. If it's not, I can add more later. I don't want to get it too thin. Then we might have to put 3 coats on. But lighter is always better. If you can make, say, 2 light coats instead of 1 big heavy coat, you're going to get much better coverage and a more lovely skin tone. I'm just laying out all my red sponges. Red is the most pigmented color, and so it's going to have a lot of pigments in the residue of paint, and so we want to get all that off. We don't want stains and stuff on our doll, or rashy looking stuff. And so we're going to get this on. This is his last color. I mean, it doesn't have to be. You can put any and all colors that you want to on your doll, but it's the last color I put. I always put it last. I put it first and then I put it last. But on the first is just to rose him up, and I'm using dry brushes. So this is the same paint that I used to put this blush on his face at the beginning. It's just now a wet paint. So anyway, we're going to brush it right onto his face just like we did the other colors. It's still going to be pigmented, but it won't be as pigmented as it was. It's going to still have plenty of color and do plenty of blushing. It's just he won't be quite so red at the end. He'll still be red though. That's the whole idea of putting blush on, is they get a little bit redder. And this is my last step. The last thing I do is tip the nails, if I'm going to tip them. And I'm going to. His look really good, and they're nice and straight nails. They should be pretty easy to tip. He doesn't have any really tucked under nails that are going to be super hard. I don't think he does. That are going to be super hard to tip or anything. Sometimes if the nails are crooked enough or sticking up underneath another finger or something in a certain kind of configuration, you can't tip them hardly, and you end up making a mess out of it. So I just go on a trial by trial basis on each different doll and decide in the moment if I'm going to tip their nails or not. And I think I'm going to tip Jaxson's nails. It's nice to have dolls that look a little bit different from each other. Every doll doesn't have to have modeling. Every doll doesn't have to have a scratch or any other such of a blemish. And every doll doesn't have to have tips. They can just be different, because you have a different customer every time you sell a doll, and people like different things. And if all your dolls are just carbon copies of each other, I know I said you need a repeatable process, but we're talking about an exact carbon copy. You did the exact same thing. There's a scratch on the left cheek and there's a blemish on, or whatever. They just all look the same, and nobody's going to want your dolls that way. People want different looking dolls. That's why you give some of them blonde hair, some of them brown hair, some of them get blue eyes, some of them get green eyes. You know, you just do them differently. This doll might get a scratch, the next one might get a mole. You know, you can do whatever you want to your dolls. And they don't have to get any special marks, you know. For many years I made dolls with no special marks until I accidentally put a baby scratch on Brooklyn. I did it by her face touched the jar right there, and it left a line that looked just like a baby scratch. And I had been, you know, wiping the brush across there over and over and over again, and it just built up a crusty like layer of paint there. And when it touched her face, it made a little scratch. It looked just like a baby scratch. Okay, we're going to put his head down for a minute here. We're going to start working on his arms and legs. And I didn't take it off because it looks so much like a real baby scratch that you purposely put on them. And so I got to thinking, I wonder if I can actually recreate that. And so I started experimenting a little with, how do you make a scratch? What do you want it to look like? It should be scratchy looking. I mean, that scratch was very scratchy looking. And it I thought it looked really good. And so I proceeded to make a baby scratch. I just kind of figured it out. It wasn't that hard to figure out. Baby scratches should look like scratches. Scratches, what you see is the little places where it bled just a tiny bit and it turned into a scab. And that's why it looks like that. Bumpy, kind of. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a scratch, it would be a cut. If it was completely open, it would be just a cut. And they're kind of superficial, but they're still, you can feel them. And so that's why I use what I use, which is thick medium. Thick medium has a texture, and it raises up from the flatness of the vinyl a little bit. I mean, you don't want it super pronounced or anything, but you can make the thick medium thicker or thinner depending on how much you want it to be raised up. Now, if you wanted to make a zombie doll or something and you wanted to give it super raised up blood vessels or something, you'd want to use a lot of thick medium. And but we're just making a scratch or something. You don't want it to be that raised up. You want it to be slightly raised, but not, real prominent. I don't know how to put it any other way. I'm not eloquent with words. I just fall all over them, as you can tell. Anyway, I hope that everybody has enjoyed Jaxson's little series. I do appreciate all of my watchers. I especially appreciate the ones who take the time to actually like the video, and they watch it all the way to the end, and they comment. I love comments. Like, they just say, oh, I like that video, or they ask a question, or just anything. It just shows me that people are interested, and it keeps me interested in making more videos. I want to branch out more in my videos so y'all don't get so bored, because it is kind of boring to see me make the same particular things on each doll every time. And I can see where it would be a little bit boring. But, oh, geez. Okay, I can't believe I did that. I touched... The reason why I reached up and touched that doll was because the other arm, this leg was sort of stuck to one of them other legs, and I thought, well, maybe those are stuck too. I better unstick them. I don't know. It just came to my mind. Anyway, I put red on it when I touched it, so I had to wipe it off so it wouldn't be a stain by the time I get to it. Anyway, yeah, I like comments because it shows me that people are actually interested, and I then become more interested in making the videos. Sometimes I'm going, I'm not going to bother to record this. I don't know if people are really watching or not. And I know there's some people who watch. They told me so. They watch every single video I put up. They watch it while they're reborn in their dolls. Some people have told me they like my stories that I tell. Other people said they like the artwork I do, and just different things. But I'd like to see my channel grow a little more. I'd like to see more people liking it, more people watching the videos. Like, I'll put up a whole series and 2 episodes will get 25 views and the rest will get 4. I don't know why, if they lose interest in them or something, or I don't know what the problem is, but I do try to make them interesting. I try to make them informative. I try to explain everything. I don't know. I get discouraged sometimes. People might not be understanding a lot about my videos because, you know, after you've explained the same things over and over and over in every single video, people get sort of tired of hearing it. Yeah, she said that the last time, you know. But then I keep thinking, what if it's their first video? I mean, maybe they need to know why I'm doing this or whatever. And so I just feel compelled to explain it again. And I don't know. It's like a record stuck. Well, most of y'all probably don't even know what records are. Uh, but people used to listen to records and they would skip. If the needle skipped across the record, it would scratch it and then it would forever skip in that spot. A stuck record. Sometimes it would be stuck. And but I remember when records was the only thing. I mean, there was reel-to-reel tapes, which is another very old form of listening to music. Uh, I think before there were records, there were reel-to-reel tapes, but they were very, very hard to keep because the least little thing would crimp up your tape and it would be messed up. And so they went to records. And the problem with records was it had a needle that played the record, and the needle had to lay down flat onto the record, you know. And if you had, in which most people did have then, homes that were not on concrete slabs, and somebody like bumped real hard or something, you know, older houses, it would sort of vibrate the floors and stuff, and it would make the record skip. The needle would skip over part of the song, and if it went across the record in a certain way, it would scratch the record. And if that scratch on the record was deep enough, then every time the record was played, it would skip again. It would be permanent. And so you'd have this like skip in your song that you were listening to. And it was just part of life for me as a teenager that records skipped. And we had certain records that we were just used to the skip being in a certain place. And I mean, we knew what it was supposed to say, but a few words would be skipped. And it would be almost like that was the way the song was supposed to be. I don't know. It's funny. But you know, you try real hard at first not to let your record skip. And then your brother or your sister would jump off the bed or something. And the big thud on the floor would make the record skip. And I don't know, sometimes I think they did it on purpose because they thought it was funny that they made our record skip. Me and my older sister, we were the oldest two in the family. And of course, we were interested in music and boys and all that kind of stuff way before the other ones were. And we'd be listening to, I don't know, the Beatles or the Monkees or one of them groups. And they'd just think it was just funny to make your record skip. And we'd get real mad. But there's nothing you do. Once you scratched, it's scratched. I think they finally came out with it one time, some kind of a polish you could put on the records that was supposed to cover over that scratch enough that it would play, but it didn't work very good. It worked a little bit. It might take some of the skip out, and if it was very, very superficial, it might take it all out. I don't know. But we never could afford that. We'd have to take our allowance. We got $1 for allowance when my mother could afford it a week. And we'd take it, me and my sister both would save up our allowance. An album was about $3.98, I think, something like that. And we'd save up our allowance until we had enough money, and we'd put it together and we'd get us an album, whichever one we, you know, wanted. And that's how we did it. That's how we got our records. Okay, that looks really good to me. I don't know. I like the color of his skin. I think that I am going to bake him before we go any further. I think probably this is going to be it for him. Like I said, I'm just not in love with all these extremely dark dolls. I'm going to make a few lighter colored dolls now because, well, if they're all that dark, I don't know, they're just too dark to me. I'm dipping these brushes that I had laying up here that didn't get dipped before, so they'll be ready for next time. And I'm gonna say we're finished with this for right now. I don't know for sure. Like I said, a lot of times you have to wait till you're in the moment before you decide that you're finished with a doll. But I'm gonna tip his nails. And then we're gonna get him in for his last bake, or at least what I think is his last bake. And unless he needs more done to him, we won't come back. Because, like I said, I don't really record putting them together and stuff like that. It's just too much, and it's so very, very boring. Unless I'm doing an instructional video. I guess they're all slightly instructional, but I'm going to tip his nails now. Oh, crap. Not like that, I'm not. That is terrible. Get too much on your toothpick, and you've got a big mess. So wipe off your toothpick and just get some right on the very, very tip. And then you just kind of scrape it across the edge of I got shaky hands today. My hands are less likely to be shaky in the mornings, and it's afternoon. Went out today, had to go to the doctor, stuff like that, so it took a little time, and it is 1 o'clock in the afternoon now. When I get finished with this baby, I'm going to be working on another baby that I'm going to be keeping for myself. And I'll announce it when we get to that video. Oops, that one doesn't look good either. This just rubs right off of the nails until it's baked. So you have to be careful putting your doll in the oven, that you're not putting it where this will just rub right off the nails, because you'll have 4 nails done and 1 nail that doesn't have anything or something like that. That's pretty good. That's about as good as I can do on nails because I have such shaky hands. And it's not perfect. I'll admit that. It's not even close to perfect. Now, if your fingers are down against the hand like that, you can bend the hand back like this and bring them up a little bit so you can get to them. You don't want to bend it too much, but that won't hurt anything, that little bit. And I'm real excited about the next baby I'm going to make, because I didn't know I had him. He was in his wrong bag, and I thought it was another doll. I had taken a bunch. This was way back when I first bought them. I bought a bunch of kits, and I started swapping limbs out. I wanted certain dolls to have different limbs, and so I was swapping the limbs around. And then I realized I was using up all my spare limbs just to give a few dolls full limbs. And so I went back and tried to get them all back in their right bags. And I ended up putting this doll in the wrong bag. And so when I was taking an inventory of my dolls, which I do every now and then because I keep thinking, okay, I've taken a lot of dolls out and put a lot of dolls in. I'm not sure what I have now. And so I'll take a little inventory. I put it down as being a different doll because that's what the bag said. I didn't even look at the doll inside to see if it was correct. And so then I was getting dolls out yesterday or day before or whenever it was to seal them. And I opened up that bag and I was just pleasantly surprised that it was the doll that it was, when I thought it was the other doll, which I was going to make it either way, but you know. One of them I wanted in my collection, and I had not put one in my collection yet. And it hasn't been on sale for such a long time. I was thinking they might not put it back on sale. They seem to keep, especially here recently, they've just had the same dolls over and over and over again on sale. And it's just, after you get a certain number of one kit, you don't want any more. And so it's like, well, okay, they're still on sale, but I don't want any more. I want these other kits that aren't going on sale. And so I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to see if he was going to go on sale, and he just hasn't. And you know, one day they may run out of him. And he's not a kit they're going to bring back, I don't think. I think he's going to be discontinued. I mean, he was discontinued, and he's an artist kit. And they re-ran them, a small run of them to just do it. I don't know why. And I think they're sorry they did, because when they first ran them, they advertised that they would not go on sale. They would be their regular price the whole time. And after about a month, they started putting them on sale. So evidently they're sorry they ran them. They're not selling as well as they thought they would, possibly. I don't know. But I don't think they're going to keep them. I think they're just going to go on and let them discontinue again, and which means I might not get a chance to get this kit again. So I'm making this one for my collection. Now, if they come out with a sale on him, I might get another kit, and I might make him again, and if he's better than the one I made this time, I'll trade. But anyway, we're going to get Jaxson into the oven, and just as soon as I do that, I'm going to come right back and we're going to start on the next doll, because Jaxson is now finished, in my opinion. I don't know yet for sure, because he looks red enough to me, but when he comes out of the oven, if he doesn't look red enough, I will do another coat of red. But otherwise, he's finished. So anyway, I want to remind everybody to please like, subscribe, and share. And happy reborning.